This is the story of Samson, the mishandled miracle. I should probably explain why Samson is a miracle in the first place. That's because his parents were unable to have children, until an angel of the Lord showed up and said, "I got you, you're going to have a son. But he has to be Nazarite from birth. This means he can't shave his hair, drink alcohol, or be around dead corpses." So Samson was eventually born. And this is what he looked like. No, I'm kidding, but really, he came into the world to deliver Israel from the hands of the Philistines. So when Samson grew up, he decided to marry a Philistine woman. His parents were not pleased with his decision because he was supposed to stay away from the Philistines, and this marriage could symbolize the beginning of the conflict with the Philistines. So as Samson was going to meet his girl, a lion attacked him. Luckily, the power of the Lord came over him, and he killed the lion and continued on his way. Later on, as Samson was going to marry the woman, he went to the lion's corpse and found honey forming in the body cavity. He took some to eat and share with his parents. But hold on, back up a little bit. Who shouldn't be by dead bodies? Samson's unwillingness to follow the rules is a symbol of disrespect to the Lord. Anyways, after the marriage, Samson and his wife decide to have a 7-day feast to celebrate. Alcohol was most likely served at this gathering. So at the feast, Samson challenged all the men at the party to a riddle. When the men couldn't figure it out, they asked Samson's wife to figure it out. So she pleaded and eventually got the answer. When Samson heard how they solved the riddle, he was furious. He went to a nearby town, hurt several men so he could steal their clothes, as that was what he needed to pay for his loss. So Samson left his wife with the men. Sometime later, when he returned to retrieve her, he found out she was given to another man. This starts an ongoing battle for revenge. So when Samson figured out his wife was given away, he tied foxes together and lit them on fire so they would burn all the crops. The Pharisees then killed Samson's wife and her father. Samson killed a ton of men when he found that out. Later on, Samson was brought to the Philistines in ropes, but the Lord helped him, and he killed 1,000 men with the jawbone of a donkey. How crazy is that? A few more altercations occurred, but he eventually found another Philistine woman named Delilah, who he wanted to marry. Almost immediately, the Philistine men wanted her to find Samson's weakness, so they paid her to find it. She eventually figured out it was his hair that gave him his strength. So one night, she had someone cut his hair. When the Philistines attacked, Samson had no strength. His eyes were gouged out, and he was bound with shackles. Then he was sent to prison to work. But the Philistines weren't going to keep the infamous Samson locked up in the shadows. Why not have him entertained? So Samson was brought out into the temple, and he went to stand by the pillars that held the entire temple up. As one last strike of revenge, Samson cried out, "Let me die with the Philistines," and pushed the pillars outward, causing the temple to come crumbling down. This crumbling temple symbolizes the end of the battle between Samson and the Philistines. This story also allows us to reflect on ourselves. We may ask if we live a life pleasing to God, or we might ask if we bring others down with our sin. Another question Samson's story raises is, what strengths are we given that we use in the wrong way? If we ponder these questions for a while, we really can gain some insight into our own lives. There is one thing for certain. Samson's life makes for a great story.